Thank you for joining me on my masterclass. Now, today I'm going to be teaching you investments to make if you never want to work again. Now, that's investments to make if you never want to work again. Now, if you are a regular subscriber on my channel, you know that I engage in a lot of investments, cryptos, stocks. You know, I engage in a lot of investments. I have real estate. But the thing is, those investments are not my bread and butter. So you have to realize that when you are an investor, you've got to have a foundational investment. So those are foundational investments are investments that will just keep you when everything else crashes. Now, it's not going to be that everything else will crash. It's not very likely. But then it's not impossible. We've known that in the US and all over the world, we've had stock market crashes, we've had great depressions, we've had recessions. So you have to have a very, very strong, very, very foundational investment that is the base of the investment, and then you grow everything from there. So, for instance, if I never want to work again, I can rely on this investment. But the thing is, I'm very vivacious, I'm full of life, I'm full of energy. I'm not young, but I'm youthful at heart. So I just say, okay, what am I going to do with my time? I have to invest. And then when I invest, I learn so I can teach my subscribers, and not just my subscribers, my family and friends, how to invest. So that's what pays for the kind of lifestyle that I have. You see me traveling around the world, 68 countries in a year, first class. It's these investments that pay, these other investments, the non-foundational ones that pay for that. But the foundational investments are the investments that help me to make sure that I will never be poor and that I will never need to work again. Now, what are these investments? It's not real estate, it's not crypto, it's not stocks. Well, you can say that it's a bit of all of these. It's actually ETFs. I invest in ETFs as a foundational investment because ETFs are so phenomenal because they give you a compound annual growth rate of about 13.5%. So basically, what it means is that if you put in 100,000, that's I invest in about 100,000 in a particular ETF. I invest in more than one ETF. So if you put in 100,000, that means in a year you are just almost guaranteed to get 13.5 thousand. So 13.5 thousand dollars. So just think about that. That's $13,500. So it's a lot of money. And then if you have three, like I have three, I put my money in three of these ETFs. You're looking at every year, that's about almost $40,000. And if you are not a spendthrift, if you live, like an average life, if you are not very, very, risky with your spending, that's enough for you. That's enough for a normal human being to live on in a year. In fact, as a matter of fact, you're even going to have change of that because you can pay your mortgage. You can look after your kids. You can also go on holiday maybe twice a year on that. How many people do you know on earth who earn about $40,000? So why do I pick on ETS? I pick on ETS because ETS are very, very safe. If you look at the last 20 years, ETFs have been very, very solid. They've hardly crashed. Not that they've hardly crashed, they haven't crashed, so they are very, very solid. And then the thing about it is that if you choose the right ETF, the expense ratio is so little that you're paying out very, very little for the amount of money that you're getting. So without further ado, which ETF should you invest in? Now, for me, and this it's my personal opinion, I would say that the Vanguard S&P 500 VOO to me is just the most secure. The Vanguard S&P 500 VOO ETF is just the most secure. Now, I'm not talking about the index fund, I'm talking about the ETF. That's the Vanguard S&P 500 VOO ETF. Now, to me, I think that's the most secure. Over the years, it's been giving me a steady 13%, and then the expense ratio is about 0.6. So that means that for every $100,000 I invest, they are only charging me about $600, which is minimal, which is nothing. So the Vanguard S&P 500 VOO ETF, I think it's secure. If you make that investment, especially if you put in at least, maybe $10,000, but I put in $100,000. Some of you might want to put in more. I mean, you can make that investment and sit down and never have to work again. Now, another ETF that I have my money in, because you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. You see, so I put my money on the Vanguard VTT. So Vanguard VTT is different from the Vanguard VOA. So I put my money on the Vanguard VTT. And, also just the same thing. I get that 13.5% interest every year. And so, I mean, the money, my capital is there. My capital it's nothing happens to my capital. It's just there. But then I still get this I still get this interest every year. And then what I do, because I really don't need the money, I choose to reinvest it so that I have compound interest, and every year my money is just growing. So that's another one. And then finally, the last one is the Schwab. Just look at that. Schwab is spelled for my visually and audio impaired viewers. It's SCHWAB. So that's the Schwab US Dividend Equity. The Schwab US Dividend Equity. So I put in another $100,000 there. Now you don't have to put in $100,000. You can determine how much you want to put in. I would recommend that you put in above $10,000 so you can get a reasonable, amount every year. But that's it. Now, there are other ETFs. You've got the Invesco, you've got, different other ETFs. But the thing is that expense ratio is much higher than this one. Like, for instance, for the Invesco, I think the expense ratio is about 0.33. So that means that, it's much higher than the Vanguard, VOO, and then the Schwab. So those are the investments that you really want to just use as your foundational investment. If you just have those foundational investments, you really don't have to work again. You can let your money work for you, and then you just go about your daily life enjoying yourself, especially when you are at my age, close to 50 or above 50, or even when you're in retirement. Because if you look at the history of these ETFs, you see that over the last 10 years, they've been very solid. They've never come up short. So you make your money regularly. Now, if you put your money in the stock market, the stock market goes up, it also goes down. If you put your money in crypto, it goes up, it also goes down. If you put your money in real estate, like right now in the United States, real estate, especially on the West Coast, it's shrinking. So if you want to put your money in, nothing is guaranteed, but in something that's almost guaranteed, I encourage you to put your money in an ETF, and especially in these ETFs that I mentioned. Now, if you watch this, because questions are rising from this, put your questions in the comment section of the video. My staff are going to bring them to me, and I'll do my best to respond to each and every category. But you got to remember, I don't have a WhatsApp forum, Telegram channel, or a Gmail email address, and I'll never ask you for money. I'll never give you a contact number, and I'll never tell you I'll invest your money for you. At this Pastor Reno, the Apostle of Prosperity, saying, God bless you.
Reno travels all around the world. I hope you get inspired about what you see. Apostle of greatness, Reno is a master. Only one man against the whole world in large. Fighting with the monsters, poverty I can't stand. That's why Reno is